call the roll, please?
Yeah, Mayor Lowry,
Here.
Councilman Grimm,
I'm here.
Councilman Rodwald,
Here.
Councilwoman Nowakowski,
Here.
Councilman Cobb,
Here.
Councilwoman Eggleston.
Yep.
Vice Mayor Cook.
Here.
7 members present.
Thank you very much. And tonight's invocation will be done by Councilman Cobb.
Dear Heavenly Father, give us the guidance to do what's right to do for citizens of the community. Watch over our first responders, our fire and EMS, our deputy sheriff, and our military men and women, and watch over their families while they are gone. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. And moving on to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to
To the flag
Flag
the
of the
United
United
States
States of America
and
and to the
republic
republic for which it stands,
one nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm. All right, moving on. Let's see, we'll need action on the work session minutes for February 16th, 2021.
Yeah.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Eggleston and second by Ms. Nowakowski. Any discussion on those minutes or comments? All right, when you're ready, Ms. Burner, call the vote, please.
Okay. Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
you were absent.
No, he was at, yeah, he was.
Work session into February 16th.
Oh,
You were
yes.
there for
Right.
regular.
That's right. I was there for regular. Thank you. Abstain for being absent.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilman Rodwald,
Yes.
Councilwoman Nowakowski.
Yes.
Those pass 6-0-1.
All right. And then moving on, we'll need a motion to the minutes for the February 16th, 2021 regular council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Eggleston and then a second by Mr. Grimm. Any discussion on those minutes, council? And when you're ready, Ms. Burner.
All right, Councilman Rodwald,
Yes.
Councilwoman Nowakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm.
Yes.
Those minutes are accepted 7-0.
All right. Thank you very much. And then moving on, communications, any overflow discussion if needed, any overflow discussion for the discussions we had in the work session regarding mayor's court discussion or log cabin discussion from Mr. Jeff Eggleston. Any council members have any comments or topics to go over on that one? Mr. Vice Mayor.
I believe that if we decide to go ahead with this program, that both Christie and the magistrate, with their having 2 other cities to, I guess the word is, conducting their business, it will be very economical for us as far as their training, which would in turn mean that we would probably only pick up every 3rd year of the cost of the training. And with the fact that Christie, as a clerk at Enon, has prior experience, it would be my thought that we would entertain the thought of both her and the magistrate being hired by the city in order to run our program.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Mr. Grimm.
Is Christy interested in working with us?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I know she's pretty to get along with.
So that I'm glad you both brought that up because she would be our clerk if we were to move forward, correct?
It would be my thought that if we were to entertain the thought of having someone she is experienced. It would save us on the process of sending someone to school or to get the education situation and the training period that would be necessary to bring them up to speed. She knows what forms that need to be filed. And I think that if we're going to entertain this, we're probably going to have to get started on those forms. Am I correct, Mr. Bridge?
Yeah. I think council, I think everyone, once you guys decide if you're going to move forward or not, definitely the next step is, identifying your location for sure. And then starting with the training and I do believe, if I remember correctly reading it, that even if we do have a magistrate, the mayor still has to undergo some additional training, very minimal. And then, as far as all that kind of just basically getting all the training and stuff, I do remember Chrissy, Ms. Tomei saying, that she would be able to hit the ground running because she already has received the training. So that would be one less hurdle that council will have to go under. So I think it's now just where council wants to have it. Software, with that package I sent out with the city manager report, I think there's a hefty charge for the software that we need to get the project going. So we'll have to bring that to council and redo the CIP in order to get that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bridge. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor. I'll get you next, Mr. Cobb.
Do we want a motion to proceed with this program at this point, or?
I make a motion, we proceed with it.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Cobb and a second by Mr. Grimm to move forward with the mayor's court / magistrate program within the city. We'll go, I guess, before we'll go to any discussion on that, Mr. Rodwell.
Well, I agree. I mean, I like the idea of a mayor's court. I am balking a little bit at the initial upfront cost of the software and other things that are going to be needed to get this up and running. Simple math looks like about $20,000. Is that right, Mr. Bridge, for the software and other things for the mayor's court? Why I think that would be, we would be able to recoup that money. I just don't know how long would it take, looking at the police report for January with citations and everything else. It's again, I'm for it. I just think it needs to be explained to the citizens a little bit more that this is more of an investment. It's not going to turn profit, right off the bat. It's going to be an investment. It's going to allow us to enforce our codes better. It's going to help the code enforcement officers, give them a little bit more teeth. But I think some of our citizens will be a little sticker shock, so to speak, when they look at the initial upfront cost of getting this program up and going. I have that concern. And what about our Spanish speaking population? Are we going to have a translator there, or are they on their own? I'm not familiar with courts, haven't been in one in many, many years. So I want to make sure that all of our citizens are being represented to the best of our ability.
That's a good question. I wish we would have asked that one at the last meeting, but good question. Mr. Cobb, we'll go to you next, sir.
Well, this ain't going to happen overnight. It's going to take a while to get it processed. And you're actually going to look a little bit more than 20,000 because you're going to have a metal detector plus a wand. And we can save, we don't have to have a deputy there. According to the magistrate, we can get a rent-a-cop to be the bailiff. But I believe we need to start getting this in the works and we can explain to the citizens as we go.
Well, with kind of piggybacking off of Mr. Rodwell, Mr. Ridge, I know that you, Christy, come over to the new building on Main Street, correct?
Yeah.
And I think she said that should do, that space there. I mean, or would you agree with that? I mean, you're in that building more than the rest of the council. So, I mean, do you think the space there was good enough to get the ball rolling on that?
I think starting at it will, because I don't know what kind of caseload we're going to have. The deputies have started enforcing a lot more, so we have that to take into account. I think it would be a great place to start. If it gets bigger, we can look at going to the second floor of that, although that may require some sort of, involvement with the county, or Smith Park as a backup. The thing with Smith Park is the internet there isn't the best. We have to utilize the pucks. But we are got it all set up to begin at 101 South Main Street. We have got cameras now hooked up that record 24/7. She did not balk at it at all. She wasn't, oh no, this ain't gonna work. So I think for a starting point, you couldn't ask for a better location.
Yeah, I mean, that way we've all been in there. I just know you're more familiar with than the rest of us.
Mhm.
And that way we're not spending large amounts of money to do something we're not sure how well is going to, go off. So, yeah. Anyone else? Mr. Bridge.
In addition to the cost that Mr. Cobb had said, the metal detector, stuff like that, the wands, I have someone who I would recommend council talk to about the bailiff position, but we're also going to have to do something to beef up where the clerk sits as well, because that's one thing that Mrs. Stone did say when she was there is, there's no dedicated spot for the clerk. So after they go in front of the magistrate, they have their a fine to pay, they in return go to that clerk. So one of the things we talk about putting them is in that conference room where the police use. So basically when you walk in, it's that first room. If you you walk in, do a 360 and it's off to the left. So we could do like a half door there, but she's gonna want some sort of plastic covering to protect her and those who's coming in. So we can start looking at pricing on that. If council wants, since it sounds like the motion is gonna go through, what that tells us is I can start getting some prices down together and hopefully in the next meeting or two, have that back to you guys. So you guys have a better understanding of the additional cost that you're going into.
Yeah. And what you were saying, Dan, it's an investment, but I also think it's also another good way to look at it. It's an investment into the community. Though some people may not see it that way. I mean, it's an investment to help the planning department. It's an investment to help the neighbor who's tired of dealing with the problems that they have next to them. I mean, there's people out there that are going to want to see this go into play, I think. And then there's obviously going to be the ones who have the barking dogs or the trash cans that are always out front that aren't going to be so thrilled about it. But I think it'll be a good investment for the city. Mr. Bridge, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so one of the things that we have been still continuing working on the back end of things, knowing that the mayor's court was a possibility, we still had to figure out a way if mayor's court did not go through to kind of reach out to the court. So we don't have everything I don't have it presentable to council yet, but I'm about 90% done, but we do have a way into the municipal courts. So we're just ironing out some details right now as far as who's going to issue the tickets, who's going to find that information out to put on the ticket. So that's the last piece of information I have before I do my full report to council. So, and I did that not knowing what the council is going to do with mayor's court. Because at some point in time, we needed a remedy. We needed a remedy either going to the mayor's court or we needed a remedy going into municipal court. So that's what we've been doing on the back end. I would encourage council to continue on with this because even Mr. The magistrate said this evening, it is a great way to police your own. We're not sending people up to Clark County. And I think our citizens are going to be way more responsive to that than having to go clear out to Springfield for court. And then he's right too. Some of that property stuff, they're not going to bat an eye on. The little stuff like the barking dogs. This is an opportunity for us to just kind of police our own. But I did want council to know that we have been working on some alternatives just in case mayor's court did not go through.
Awesome. Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Bridge. Mr. Cook, Mr. Vice Mayor, I'm sorry.
The mayor's court example that was in the packet, is this I guess the word is a culmination of somebody's idea, or is this a possible copy of some other city's court report for November of 2020?
Are you talking about this one, sir? The one that has those
Yes.
numbers on it, not the one with the software quote? That is actually Enan's. I just took their name off of it. Any identifying information, I didn't want that being put out there. That actually is a legit report.
So basically what you're looking at is the fact that this to me indicates that yes, for Enan, who's about half our size, to come up with this kind of money, I would say that probably we're going to be able to recoup the initial costs fairly quickly.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, they say that I think they said when we talked to them that they barely cover not barely, but they cover the cost with just a little bit left over. So, and they're, again, like you said, Mr. Vice Mayor, they're smaller than us. So I don't see why we could, take a couple further steps forward on that exact same approach. Mr. Bridge.
And one more thing for council to consider too is, Enon is smaller than us. I think that we'll do a lot more volume than Enon just because of the crossroads that we have. We have 235 and 571. That's a lot of cross traffic coming into our town. We know that people go very fast on 571. We have 235 that comes through our town. So I think that when you look at the bypassing traffic, I think that New Carlisle experiences more of the drive-through traffic than Eden does. That is just an assumption. I'm not saying that's warranted. That's not bound by any study I've done. I just know the traffic patterns in our town, and we get a lot of people coming in and out going to Dayton from northern or east west. So I think that we'll do a lot more volume than Eden, which in return is going to be a lot better for everybody.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, sir. Mr. Roadwall.
Well, piggybacking off of that, Mr. Bridge, I also don't want us to become a Northampton 2.0.
No.
I don't want people avoiding the city, going around causing our local businesses money and business because they don't want to take a chance of getting hit with a traffic stop either. So, whether it's Speedway or Mike at Marathon or the drive-through or the IGA with those people going up north to the lake, because that's where the bulk of your traffic is going, especially in the summer months. So I err on the side of caution with that as well. But
and we can have a discussion about our, with our contracted deputy saying, hey, this is ideally how we'd like to do it. But what we can't do is tell a contracted deputy how to interpret or enforce state law.
no, I understand.
So
No.
but we can say, hey, they've been pretty responsive to all this so far at this point in time. Sergeant Lehman is fantastic to work with. We don't want people getting a speeding ticket for going 5 miles an hour over 4,
No.
10, that's a little excessive,
Yes.
but they have done a good job at being responsive to our needs. And this will be probably more likely no different.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other, Mr. Hutchinson?
And similar to Councilman, gosh, how do you pronounce it? Rosewold?
Roadwall.
Sorry.
Dan.
Same thing as far as the planning, property maintenance, code enforcement. No one wants to go to court, right? Whether it be mayor's court or municipal court. Time that we're in a court with a case, the time that we prepare, the time it takes to prepare a case and then to be in court, that's time that our inspectors are off the road, doing stuff. So, court is the last resort. But I don't want people to think that we're just out there throwing citations out to the wind as well. We give our residents every opportunity to comply. If they can't on time, they have the opportunity to call us and work out an agreement plan, to work with, we work with everyone we can, because that is the last resort that we have to do. Just because of the nature of the job, we're going to have a high volume. We will. Yeah. And it will take some time. But over time, those numbers may flex a little bit, but with new residents moving in or generations moving on, we're always going to have that change. So we'll have new faces, but we will have a group of familiar faces that we'll see in there all the time. That's just how it goes. But we will make every opportunity to work with our citizens before we have to get to that point.
Great. Thank you, sir. And Mr. Cobb.
Well, the bottom line, you break the law, you're going to go to court. That's all there is to it. Citations are going to be issued. You can't sit back and say, I don't want to be a speed trap. Well, Northampton, yes, they are known as a speed trap. If you're a hair over, they're going to pull you over. I don't think the deputies will pull you over for being 1 mile over or 2 miles over in this city. But the bottom line is you break the law, you're going to pay the price.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Cobb. And if no one else has anything else, I'm going to ask Ms. Berner to call for the vote on this motion.
Okay.
All right. When you're ready, please.
All right. Councilman Roadwall,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm.
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0.
Thank you very much. And again,
Who was the first and
again,
second on that? I'm sorry.
First was Cobb and second was Grimm.
Thank you.
and again, Randy, thank you for all the work you and investigating in onto this hot topic. I appreciate it.
I'm very excited about this, to be honest with you. So I'm all for it.
Right. So, all right, moving on. Did anyone else have anything on Mr. Jeff Eggleston in the cabin discussion before we go any further? Okay. So moving on, city manager's report. Mr. Bridge, we'll hand it back to you, sir.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, members of the public, and members of my staff who are here. Thank you so much for coming, guys. I appreciate it. Let me go ahead and share my screen here real quick. Just give me a second. I don't know what's going on in I have no clue what just happened, but we're going to try to get it. My menu bar is in the way. There we go. Okay, so we're going to share my desktop. And right now we should see my city manager report. Is that what we see?
Yep.
That's what we see.
Awesome. So we'll start under informational items. Let me back up a little bit. Department reports for finance, public service, planning and zoning, fire, and EMS will be at the 3:15 meeting, which is our next one, second one for March. So I am going to jump around here because I want to show the average utility bill that we did send to council. We had a council member request some information. So we were quickly able to compile that information and put it into a little graph that should be easy to understand. So basically over here, we see the usage. These are in 1,000-gallon increments. So what we did is we ran this report off of our system that we have, and I compiled it into this nice sheet. So we have our average user is 0 to 5 is 1,931. So the vast majority of our bills average under $100, and that is the same theme for January and February. The information was requested since the latest rate increase, which is why we're only going back for January and February. But when we combine these 2 months, we also see that same trend continuing, is that the vast majority of the bills are under the $100. And the reason why this information was requested is council wanted to look at the credit card fees that we do process with those who are paying their bill online. Right now, anything over $100, you have to make 2 payments on. But the data clearly shows that the vast majority of the bills are under that $100 increment, which means most of our employees are only swiping that card once. We happy to entertain any questions on that data.
I can't, does anybody have their hands up? I can't see them. So I'll let you do that, Mr. Bridge.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, you can leave it there. Just, you can see them. So if someone's got their hands up or.
I'm trying to make my screen bigger. I see everyone. And of course, it's not really doing what I want it to do. We'll just get to the end of it and then we can circle back, if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I had some things, but I can wait till the end.
Awesome. Sounds good. So Mayor's Court, we just had that, but I did include all previous information from what I've supplied to council, just so you guys can have it in one meeting. So all that was right there. I did want to have a discussion with city operations and COVID-19. I would like to have a motion for the council to allow us to open the city building for appointments only for tax season. Let me go ahead and stop my screen here so we can see everyone. So council can have that discussion.
So you would like a motion, or are you asking for a motion, or are you asking for opinion on what our thoughts are on that?
Well, both. We would like to go ahead and open the city building for appointments only.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Cobb.
I believe that's your call on the city building, Mr. Bridge.
It is kind of way, but since we're just going to have council weigh in and not weigh in on that opinion as well.
All right.
I'm fine with it. If you feel safe, Randy, and your management feels safe, then I'm okay with it.
Me too.
Me three.
Okay, I'll go ahead and ask for a motion on that, similar to how we do the shelter house. Do we do a motion for the shelter house cancellations, or we just do that verbally?
Just go
I
ahead
think
and do them.
We've
Took
done
a
that by
motion, voted.
Yeah, I think we voted on the shelter.
What'd you
did,
say?
yeah.
So,
We voted for the shelter, so.
Okay, so
Okay.
we need to vote for this.
So moved. Second.
okay, so motion by Ms. Eggleston and second by Mr. Vice Mayor.
Okay,
Any more discussion? And when you're ready, Ms. Burner.
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilman Roadwall,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb.
We're talking about the city building.
Yes, opening it
Yes.
up for appointments.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cook.
Yes.
That motion is accepted 7-0.
Thank you. I'm going to keep this up because I don't have any attachments yet, and when I do, I'll flip back if I have any more. But 101 South Main Street, dedicated internet line for the police is active. It will be up to Clark County to go ahead and move their IT equipment. But the police slowly have started moving in. But the final thing for them is definitely having their IT set up. I am happy to report that I've actually had my first meeting in the space last week, and it was very highly complimented. So that meeting side on the city administration side is going over just as we planned. It gives a good light to the city, and we are very, very proud of that. Street priority listing that is attached. It's for informational for council. Since we had so much on the books for this meeting, I just kind of wanted to give that to you guys a little early, so you had time to look at that. And then when we have a regular meeting next on the 15th, when all the admin are here, including Mr. Kiko, I think it'd be a great time for council to sit down and talk about that, and potentially also look at having those ride-alongs that council had wanted to do with our street crew as well to help identify some of those streets on that list. Finding Finnegan is back. That is on March 2nd. It's actually it's 3 weeks, March 2nd through the 7th, March 9th through the 14th, and March 16th to the 21st. So every Monday, National Trail is going to post clues on their website as to where you can find Finnegan in our town. So every Monday, check their Facebook page. We will also share that link. And then on those 3-week blocks I gave you, each Monday again, Finnegan will be moved to a different location, and it'll be the responsibility to use those clues to find Finnegan. This is a project we've done now for a few years. It's been a great hit. So again, thank you to National Trail and Parks and Recreation for all that they do, not only in the city of New Carlisle, but in Clark County as well. Guest at council meeting, pool feasibility study. We are confirmed for Mr. Steve Schallenberger from MKSK of Columbus. Again, he is confirmed for the 3/15/2021 meeting. I did go ahead and attach his brochure as well. I am not sure council made a motion last meeting. Did we do a motion to allow him? We did. So
Yes.
we're there. Fantastic. Another thing we had brought to council at the last meeting, we didn't have it in the packet because the packet was already done, but it was information from OIC of Clark County regarding household financial assistance that is available. And again, please, if you need assistance with that, reach out to OIC, call us at the city building, reach out to one of your council members. We all have their contact information, but we did feel it was warranted to be in part of the official packet this week. And carrying over from last week, we have upcoming council discussions. Salvage rights at Madison School at 3/15/21. I did put a new note under there. It says it may be delayed. I'm still awaiting information. Past that, we have alcohol sales in the city at the 4/5/21 meeting, fixed assets at the 19th meeting of April, and then the comprehensive land use plan should kick up our May meeting, the first one. So we got some great things lined up for council to look at. And I think that's all for the city manager report. Would be happy to entertain any questions.
All right, council, any questions for Mr. Bridge? All right, I got a couple. Let me go back to the water. And that was really interesting information. So thank you for sending it out. With that being said, I know there's a smaller amount of people who have the bill over $100, but I am not a fan of having, because, I know that I've had people comment me saying that they get confused, that they thought they paid their bill and then didn't realize that they had to scan their, swipe their card, or enter their card twice to pay it again, or however it is they're doing. And then I'm assuming once they make that one mistake once, they probably don't make it again. I'm not a fan of having to pay your bill twice if it's over $100. I wish there was a way that we could simplify it so that no one runs into that problem. There's not a bill that I have anywhere, credit card, utilities, that you have to do it twice just to
Right.
get the monthly bill paid. I would really like to see if we can come up with something, or what council thinks on that, to simplify it.
And
Go ahead, please.
I mean, I don't deal with managing credit cards, but I don't know that I get charged an extra amount because I bought something that was expensive. Somebody's eating it,
Mm,
or they build it into the cost.
yeah, I would assume, it's built into the cost, but I don't know. Mr. Roydwall?
I mean, I'm assuming the rates and what was established when the contract was signed.
Right.
And why I don't like having to swipe my credit card twice either. Looking at the sheer numbers and then piggybacking off of the email with cost. I mean, I know it's only, I think, a 55-cent increase on the swipe fee to increase it to 150. Just the sheer numbers alone. I mean, yes, it's an inconvenience. I agree. But when you're looking at 600 people benefiting and 5,000 not, I just think at this time, I think we just need to leave it alone and look to see when the contract does expire with this processing company and look to either change companies or get better terms and rates then.
Would, for example, Randy, let's just say for conversation's sake, if we wanted to jump to the 150 mark, that would have to wait till the contract ends and start a new contract, correct? We couldn't implement that now if we wanted, could we?
So I would have to look at the terms of the contract.
Okay.
But the data shows that, the vast majority of the bill, here's the deal. We could also look at a different company.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I remember I'd asked that. You said we would have to wait till our contract. Then, do you know when that ends by chance, off the top of your head?
I'll have to look.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Those are usually perpetual, where they just reassign themselves every year, which I'm fine with because I don't want to have to see increased fees every 3 years where they raise it up to 2%. We can definitely pull the contract. I think council approved that contract back in 2018 when we wanted to get credit card processing at the pool. But it's definitely something we can warrant. Absolutely.
Mr. Good.
Council to do that if you guys want me to look at other things pertaining to our current situation.
Well, thank you. Mr. Grimm, did you have something before we went any further on this?
Yes. When someone pays their bill online with a credit card, does it automatically go to their account? It's tied in with our bookkeeping system.
I don't understand your question.
Does it automatically credit their account on our system, or do we have to go in and manually?
Oh, that's all worked out. As soon as they swipe the credit card, they communicate with our software.
Do you know how much we're paying for credit card processing?
It's the fee that we pass on to the citizens.
So they charge us $1.95 per transaction.
Prior to that, the city ate the processing fee,
Right.
which was costing us a lot of money every year, which is why council wanted to pass a contract to pass that on to the actual user.
So they're charging us $1.95 for each transaction.
They're charging us as consumers, not as a city.
Right.
The processing company is charging $1.95 per transaction.
Yes.
Okay.
That fee that you guys get assessed, we don't see any of that fee.
Okay. I think it would be wise.
Look at it like a franchise fee that you have with your trash that, we don't have, that they pass certain aspects on to the actual user.
Yeah, I would definitely just be interested in just at the end, or maybe just prior to our contracting, maybe just looking around and see what other options are out there. If there is something better, great. If not, then we just continue on.
They're all going to be fairly competitive with one another, but it's definitely something we can look at.
We have how many water subscribers?
Hang on, I just had it up.
You sent out around $2,100.
$2,175.
Yeah, you have, let's see. Yeah, you have 1,931. It's under $91.05 and 244 that's over $91.05. And I know that that's, kind of a landslide, but I still don't want to make things any more complicated or confusing for those ones that are above. So,
Well, $1.95 a transaction seems a bit much. When I was accepting credit cards, I was paying $30 a month plus 1.75% of the sale.
Yeah.
So as we're averaging out with the number of subscribers we had, it was costing me maybe 40 or 50 cents per transaction.
Yeah, but we also do a lot more swipes than I think your business would have done.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, it's most credit card companies will charge a percentage. I think this was the easiest and best way, just charging a flat rate for a swipe fee, given how many variances are in our water bills from resident to resident. I think this just made it easier for our software and their software just to charge a flat rate swipe fee versus a percentage of whatever the bill may be. This was, I'm sure if we wanted to go down that road of a percentage of each bill, it might cost the city a little bit more money, because it's going to be more software and more.
And there's some other things that I'm going to have to look at too. Council wants this to happen is, this may be a fee that's actually charged by, I can't remember the name of it, the company that does our bills.
Yep.
So it may not be the actual processing credit card. It may be from, Howie, do you remember the name of the company? I can't, I'm thinking too fast.
Is it Paragon?
No, that's who does our bills. I'm talking about the software people who actually process it. Yeah.
Not right off the top of my head.
Yeah. So we'll get some information for you. If council wants to look at that, definitely would have to do a motion. So council as a whole directs the administration, but that's definitely something we can get to the bottom of.
yeah, and like I said, if it's for me personally, if it, just for example, if our contract's not up for another year and a half or even December 30, at the end of December, I mean, I don't need it. I don't want it done right now. I know you've got a full plate. If council was okay with maybe looking at it at your convenience here soon, I would appreciate it. But
Oh, yeah.
that would be up to council.
Oh, are we breaking up? No, we're good.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. Not at all. I think it's definitely something we can definitely look at.
Does council have an issue with that? For Randy just to
Nope.
look at some, did we get a motion to do so? If
I
you guys,
would move that we direct Randy to get information on what our options are.
Second.
You guys can put a time frame with that motion. That'd be great. So I know what my deadlines are here.
Wednesday.
Tomorrow.
well, I don't want to step on Linda because you made the motion. It would be kind of hard to put a timeline on it because we don't know when our next this contract ends. So I don't know, maybe if you could just say before, sometime before our contract's over, Linda, I think would be suitable.
Okay. Yeah.
There would have to be okay. I was thinking more of, do you guys want this information back in a month or two? Because we can't wait till the contract's ended because we have to do work prior to that ending if we wanted to switch. So do you guys want this 2 months or a month?
See it first meeting next month.
Let me see what I have coming up for you guys.
How about April 19th?
Yeah, like I said, for me personally, I don't want to bury you with more work right off the bat. Just whenever you.
There it is. So you said the first one in April, Ms. Nowakowski?
Yes.
I should be able to do that. We're good.
Are you sure? I mean, me personally, I don't mind if you want to go a little longer out.
No, it's a month. That'll be fine.
Okay.
Because the reason I say that is because I don't want to push the bigger stuff, the fixed asset policy we have to talk about on the 19th. And then we're going into the comprehensive land use plan. I'd rather have this information compiled and sent to council prior to those two big things coming up, because those are going to be huge. The fixed asset and that comp plan is going to be pretty big for us.
Okay.
So if we can get this information to you within a month, what I think is very fair time, we can have that definitely by then.
Okay.
Thank you for the timing concern. I appreciate it, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. All right. So any discussion on that before we call for a vote? All right. When you're
Was
ready,
there
Ms.
a
Bennett.
second?
Yeah, Ms. Eggleston seconded, I believe.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. When you're ready.
good. Oh, hold on. Okay. Vice Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilman Roadwald,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Eggleston.
yes,
That motion passes 7-0.
Thank you very much. All right.
On
Let's
that,
see. here.
Emily,
Councilman-
the first and second on that.
Motion by
Noakowski,
and second by
second
me.
Eggleston.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was thinking I had one more question for you, Mr. Bridge, but I can't remember what it was now. So couldn't have been too important. So, all right. Council, any other questions on the city manager's report before we move on? All right. And moving on to comments from members of the public. Anything on there, sir?
We get to see down here. We have no additional emails from the one read in work session.
Okay. Can we go ahead and just read that one again, just for the record?
Absolutely. Good evening, council administration. My name is Don Hall, and I'm a resident of 609 West Jefferson Street. Outside of the planned meeting agenda, what specific projects are members of council currently working, and what's the goal of these projects for 2021? Are volunteers needed for any of these projects? If so, how can members of the public assist? Thank you, Don Hall.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hall. I'm not sure if you caught the last meeting or not. Linda, did you want to go over your stuff again, or it's up to you?
Well,
You don't have to.
I just have been trying to do some work to get community involvement in the city in any way I can. If they have an idea, get it flying. Just to try to build up people interacting with one another in any way that they can. I'm interested in what people are interested in seeing happen in the city. So I've been holding Zoom meetings on Monday and Tuesday, except when there's council. And they're not a lot attended, but we've had a number of people come and talk, and it's been interesting. Now continue that.
All right. Thank you very much. And one that she mentioned earlier, I didn't want you to forget, it was the charter review committee that will be.
Oh,
Thank you. Yes,
yeah.
the charter review. So if Mr. Hall, if you're interested in that, it's a very important one that we're going to need help with coming up. And you could probably contact any council member to, figure out how to help with that process. We would definitely encourage anyone that would like to help with that. It's a very important part of the city. So thank you again for the email, sir. All right, moving on. Let's see. City manager report, council public, committee reports, none, resolutions, none, ordinances. Ms. Berner, if you would, please.
All right, tonight we have ordinance 2021-03, public hearing and action tonight. This was introduced last month at the February 16th meeting. And ordinance authorizing the city manager to purchase a new command vehicle for the fire EMS department.
Motion to make it pass, accept it.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Cobb and a second by Mr. Vice Mayor. Sorry, you were a little confused there, Randy. Your head was bouncing back and forth.
I got background noise going on here, so I'm just making sure I get these first two motions. I don't have to ask. So an explanation of this ordinance, this was already determined in our CIP, but since it does go over my spending authority amount, we do have to put that back in front of council for a second approval. So basically, this is an ordinance to buy a new command vehicle for the fire and EMS department. Fire chief is here on behalf of his department. Anything that you would like to add before council does vote?
No, sir. It's basically this vehicle will replace the Dodge pickup truck that's very old and high mileage and has some maintenance issues. This vehicle will be used for the battalion officer and also for myself, and for any time used as a staff officer vehicle.
Thank you.
Great. Mr. Grimm.
We're buying this from New Carlisle Chrysler.
Through their state,
It's
their state line. Yes, but through them, through Chrysler.
I like dealing with the citizens.
Mr. Rodwell, then to Mr. Cobb.
Chief, you mentioned in the work session about what you will be doing with the current battalion. And I know you and I have discussed, and I've talked to other firefighters down there in EMS about the vehicle being, let's just say, not very reliable at times.
Yes, sir.
And I know you said you thought of, you're just going to set it in the back and kind of use it as needed. With its safety record, wouldn't it be just better for us just to let it go? I mean, last thing I'd want is someone to jump in that, whether it's you or one of your lieutenants, and have an issue with it on our way to a run.
Right. We ended up this past year putting some money into the vehicle because we put the staff vehicle on a back burner. Like I said, if it seems like that there's any more or continues with a safety issue, yes, we'll just end up putting it, either salvaging it or putting on gov deals.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rodwell. Mr. Cobb.
Yes, Chief, I just want to make sure you get it undercoated.
Yes, sir. That is the plan, that we will have it undercoated.
I mean, you could either do it through the dealer or you can go to C-Bar, either one.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cobb.
We're probably going to look at having it undercoated and also having the yearly inspection done on the undercoat.
Nice.
Good.
Good suggestion. Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Thank you, Chief. Anyone else for the chief before we call for a vote? All right, when you're ready, Ms. Berner.
Okay. Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilman Rodwald,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilman Eggleston,
yes,
Vice Mayor Cook.
Yes.
Motion's accepted 7-0.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on. We have ordinance 2021-04, public hearing and action tonight. And this was introduced also on February 16th. And ordinance authorizing the city manager to purchase a new Jaws of Life for the fire and EMS department.
Council.
Motion to buy the Jaws of Life.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Cobb, second by Mr. Grimm.
an explanation of this one. This is another purchase that was accounted for and budgeted in our CIP, but it is a, sorry. But it is a legislation to approve a purchase of Jaws of Life for the fire and EMS department, and due to the amount of it, which is over 20,000, which is why we have an ordinance in place in front of council tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Council, any comments, questions, or concerns? All right, when you're ready, Ms. Berner, call the vote, please.
All right. Councilman Rodwald,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilman Eggleston,
yes,
Vice Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm.
Yes.
That motion is accepted 7-0.
All right, thank you very much. And moving on to other business. Any other business that anyone would like to go over before we move on? Mr. Mr. Vice Mayor, sorry.
What kind of a budget have we got established for that fireworks?
I don't have the
What,
budget in front of me.
I think it was 15,000.
what's that?
Let me
It
pull
was either
it.
50,
Pardon?
I'll pull up the budget real quick.
okay. I thought it was
Well,
15.
I was thinking that if we're gonna have to, spend a little bit more money for the, deputies on this enforcement of the coronavirus, perhaps, in the past, we've always, what'd we spend, Ron? Something like 12?
What, last year or the last time?
Yeah,
Yeah, we spent 12.
I'm still looking, give me a second. So it was under special events, right?
yeah.
That's gonna be clear up to the top of it under the general fund. But we're getting close. We're getting close. I thought we were getting close. Special event. So we have 15,000 in for fireworks.
Okay.
If that's stuck, because that was a draft. So let me look. Yeah.
Well, would we be wise in, allocating and talking to, American Fireworks in regards to about 12?
I think that would be appropriate, Mr. Cobb.
Yes, I'm gonna go to Randy on this. How many deputies did we have the last time, Mr. Bridge?
I don't say maybe more than 2 or 3, if that.
Yeah, I think it was 2.
We had 4.
I had four,
It
sure had
was
4.
4 last year, I think 2 the year before.
Okay,
Year before was 4.
what would happen if we use the deputies for the main traffic control? We get security down there to help keep the flow of traffic moving out of the ballpark, which would be cheaper than hiring the deputies to do that.
I can't answer any of those questions without having quotes from different people. I mean, are you asking like have the actual sheriffs do a part and then like a separate company come in and do traffic flow, or just have the
Help get the flow out of the ballpark.
Yeah, I think if I understand you right, Mr. Cobb, you're saying use our contracted deputies for the traffic control and then possibly have someone else come in and handle traffic flow on the ground.
Well, the way it was done the last time, Randy had to submit to the major. And then the major would put it up if anybody wanted the overtime.
Extra duty.
Excuse me. And we had to guarantee them 4 hours, I believe it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, what I was looking at, we do that with 4 deputies as far as the street control, like Main Street, Lake, down by the pool, and up there by Howard's. We get security, hire a couple of security people to help get the traffic out of the ballpark, because they were coming down behind the cell phone tower there. Some of them were cutting through the field coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And with just Bill and I, we couldn't control it.
Yeah, I'm down to do whatever council wants to do. I just encourage right now, because you guys, by sound of it, a $12,000 contract for the fire show, which only leaves $3,000 over for miscellaneous items, because the total budget for the show is 15. So 12 of that's going to a contract. You only have $3,000 left. So that out of that 3 is going to have to be food trucks. It's going to have to be, extra duty hours. So I think either would council be willing to throw some more money into that pot?
Well, as far as your food truck goes, we don't make any money off of that.
You guys have to pay him like a base fee to come up. I was never involved in that.
They come in, you tell them, they come in, what they make is theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't charge you to come in.
And unless you're going to charge or get a percentage of their or commission. But other than that, they'll come in, and all I'm looking at there is trying to ease the way out of the ballpark like we planned. Somebody took down the barricades there in the front entrance, and we had them coming out on Main Street. We had them cutting up the alleys because a couple of people moved the barricades.
Mm-hmm.
We had them cutting out in the cornfield. or the bean field, whatever that is back there behind the ballpark, had them coming behind the tower,
Yeah, they were going everywhere.
and we just couldn't control it with just two of us.
So why don't I get with Sergeant Lehman? And if it's okay with the rest of council, we'll have Mr. Cobb and Mr. Cook come into the meeting with me and Lehman, and you guys can talk about your concerns with traffic flow. And then Lehman can put a plan together, since he is our new administrator. And it does deal with his direct reports, but it'll get a chance for Lehman to sit down with all of us. And Cobb and Cook can, tell them about what his concerns are. Maybe he can come up with a plan to present to council.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to increase it up to 17,000, which will cover the additional costs. For, we got to have porta johns.
And
John's already be there, so we at the ballpark.
And you're right, Mr. Cobb. I think we will need additional money. What I recommend, Mr. Cobb, and this is just a recommendation, is let's compile some early data, and then get the word out, because it seems like every year we get a big donation. So we may not have to increase the money we have budgeted on it if we have another donation come in.
We didn't get that donation last time.
Oh, well, I'm talking about. And then once we have a final number, then we can go back to council and be like, okay, we need to up this X amount of dollars based off this is how many deputies we're going to need. Because I only know we still have to negotiate the contract with American first, and then the subsequent stuff. So I think that let's have a meeting with Sergeant Lehman, me, Mr. Cook, and Mr. Cobb. We can sit down. Lehman you guys can tell him his concerns. He can maybe give a game plan of how many deputies he thinks he's going to need. And that way we have a number based off how many deputies we're going to need. And that contract, even though we haven't signed it yet or started the negotiation, we can sit there and say we're not paying more than 10 or 12. And they'll adjust that show to where we want to spend. Does that make sense?
You can also put in there, due to the virus also, if it comes back up, we can't have a big crowd, that we can cancel the contract. But I'd also like to have Mr. Roadwall involved in this too, because it's going to take the baseball along with us to try to get this going.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Rodwell, did you have your hand up? And if so, then I'll go to Ms. Nowakowski after you.
Yes, I did, Mike. One thing we also have to take into consideration is if we have this on July 3rd, versus previous years, we might not have as many people because we'll be going up against Huber Heights, Troy, Tip City. I'm guessing they're all going to have their same fireworks show that same evening as well. So why we should get the bulk of our citizens, unlike in years past, if we have it on an off weekend, we might not draw as many from the outer areas. So, why I don't disagree that we definitely need to take a look and at increased traffic control. Maybe the crowd this year may not be as large as previous years, just because we'll be going against larger municipalities around us that will be having fireworks at the same time.
So July 4th or July 3rd is the weekend that a council had throw it around first, because that weekend. Sorry, my calendar. This iPhone is so small. That weekend before is our garage sale. Last weekend in June is our garage sale. That's 26th.
That's 26th.
26th and 27th, and then we'll go back. Which is great. We always have busy weekends, but just so council knows that's.
If that's the garage sale weekend, I like the 3rd. I totally understand and agree with what Dan says. We may not attract the people out from bigger cities to our town, but I'm thinking strictly our. You always want to bring more people to New Carlisle, but I think closer to the 4th of July, the citizens would like to have 4th of July in their in their.
Oh no, I agree. Trust me.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you weren't. Yeah,
it's better if it's better that way. I don't have to drive all the way to Huber Heights or Tip City, and then.
Well, take into consideration, Evans Farm does it on the 4th of July.
Yep.
Oh.
So.
Well, how's that going to work out then?
Well, we'll have ours on the 3rd.
We'll have to do ours.
I'm sorry, Evans is on the actual 4th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
When's the county fair start?
not till
July,
July.
Mid,
Emily,
late July.
when's the
The
fair
last
start?
week in July.
Last week of July.
When's your
I'll be
vacation?
there every day.
We still got time to decide on the date there.
Ms.
Yep.
Nokowski, I didn't, go ahead. I totally forgot to get back to you.
I was just thinking if traffic control off of the roads, not particularly getting onto the roads, but that traffic control, keeping them from going where they're not supposed to be going, could be done without police officers. I mean, if you could get somebody that's not going to cost as much as a police officer to, just be kind of, they don't hire police officers to do traffic events at other big events. Yeah, you find somebody who's less than a police officer.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Grimm.
a couple of things. Originally, we had the fireworks on a Saturday beforehand to avoid, number one, people not coming because of other fireworks displays in the area. And number two, the availability of people to set off the fireworks.
Mhm.
I think the end of June would be a better time. Second of all, traffic control. What would be the harm in seeking volunteers from within the
Right.
community, like we do for the festival? There's Jim Lethley and Mark Spencer directing cars into the where they are to park, not police, not deputies.
Yeah. It's not a fun job. I know that. I mean, I every year we get some people who volunteer to park cars in a cruise in, and they are not, they're like, man, some people in this town are not very friendly. They get chewed on a little bit when they're trying to tell people where to park sometimes. But yeah, I agree. If it's possible, I think it'd be a good idea. Mr. Cobb, and then we'll go to,
Okay. According to the major, and Mr. Bridge can back me on this, if you have direction up on the main thoroughfare at any of the public streets, you have to have a deputy.
Right.
What we do down in the park and everything, we can have either private security or we can have a bunch of adults down there. But it's been in the past, it's been Mr. Cook and myself. And it's a nut house.
all right. Any other comments on this? We have the motion we did have a motion by Mr. Cobb to raise it to the spending limit to 17,000. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay. Second by Ms. Eggleston.
We don't have to spend all of that. I'm just saying.
Right. All right. Any discussion on that before we call for a vote for that? All right. When you're ready, Ms. Berner.
All right, Vice Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm,
I think we're a bit premature on that. I'll say no.
Councilman Roadwald,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noakowski,
No.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston.
Yes.
4-5, that motion passes 5-2.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Berner. Mr. Bridge.
Can I get council to entertain undoing that motion? And this is why I say that. I kind of gave you a hint before, is we don't know what kind of donations are going to come in. But when you guys made the motion like that, that actually is going to require a bunch of subsequent legislation to redo the budget, which is why I kind of recommended, let's see how this comes in first before we decide if we have to reduce the amount. So I'll have to get with Colleen, since the budget's already been approved. We'll have to do a couple legislation pieces for that, but it's going to take some time to actually get effective. So we'll have to do 2 reads, and then we'll have to recertify everything to the county auditor.
Council, what would you like to do? Essentially,
Get withdrawn.
Second.
it's a motion by Ms. Nowakowski to withdraw it, and then a second, I think I heard Mr. Rodwell. And this is just more or less to give, basically just get ducks in a row if we end up wanting to move forward.
And if we need more, then we can redo the budget.
Gotcha. All right. Any other discussion on this before we call for the vote? Mr. Grimm?
Yeah, we don't have any facts and figures at all yet.
Correct.
I mean, outside of the 15,000, it's already been earmarked.
Other than 10 to 12,000 for the fireworks. We don't know if there's going to be donations. We don't know, right, security company or volunteers from within the community. Like I said before, I think that was a bit premature. We can always allocate more money down the pike when we realize how much it is going to cost to pull this off.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm. I saw Mr. Cobb first, and we'll go to Mr. Vice Mayor.
There's nothing that says we got to spend the 17,000. That's there because we don't know what the going rate is for the overtime for the deputies. You're going to need at least 4 deputies. And you don't understand the crowd that comes in back there off of Brubaker Drive. We got people coming out of the pool. At the same time, the fireworks over, people trying to go down Brubaker. And, nobody says we got to spend 17. That's just there to start planning stuff. There's nothing that says we got to spend that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Mr. Vice Mayor.
The only reason I brought this up was the fact that you've got to get with, I guess the word is the fireworks company. You've got to get with these food trucks. Everything is going to be laid out quite a bit in advance before we do this. We can adjust the monies as far as I'm concerned way back when. If we get the donations that we've got in the past, yes, there will be no problem with this. But I think that, whatever we need to do, we need to get some planning going. And then you guys can fight about the money all you want to.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Any more discussion? Let's keep the discussion to the motion to withdraw the last motion passed. All right, Ms. Berner, call for the vote. So if you want to retract the motion, you would be voting yes. If you don't want to retract it, you would vote no.
Okay. Councilwoman Nowakowski? Oh,
Yes.
I just saw Eggleston wave her hand. I don't know.
Did you need something?
I didn't catch what you said, Mike, on,
Oh, what I was saying is with the current motion, if you want to retract the last motion that passed for the 17,000, if you want to retract that to give Mr. Bridge time to get some things in order, you would vote yes. If you don't want to retract it, then you would vote no.
okay. Sorry, my furnace kicked on and I didn't hear a word you said.
No problem. Thank you for asking. I didn't know if you were waving to somebody or what was going on. Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yep. Okay. And you said yes, Councilwoman Nowakowski, correct?
Correct.
All right. Councilman Cobb,
I refuse to vote.
do you abstain?
Abstain for what reason?
I'm not abstaining. I refuse to vote. I don't have to sustain. I can refuse to vote.
You're not voting is an abstain, basically stating that you're not going to vote, but you have to give a reason why.
No,
Legally.
not if I refuse to vote. I do not have to give a reason why.
It's not.
Okay.
All righty.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm,
Yes.
Councilman Rodwald.
Yes.
That motion passes 6 to
might want to look at the rules of council.
I'm gonna have to look, or I'm gonna say you abstain because you refuse to vote. I don't know what to do about this.
I'm not trying to get in the middle of it, but I think someone needs to review the rules of council. As an elected official, you either have
No.
no or
I know that, but I can't force somebody to do something.
well, I just isn't as abstaining. He's abstaining because he doesn't want to vote.
That's my thought.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
601.
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Other business. I had one. I hate to prolong this meeting any further. I spoke with Randy about this earlier. I had a newer homeowner call me from Twin Creeks with actually some pretty good questions that I wanted to share with Mr. Hutchinson and Mr. Bridge. And like I said, I'd talked to Mr. Bridge about it. So her concern is that she's moved into the neighborhood. And I don't know how many of you ever go back there, but some people are buying, and I didn't realize there was this many, but there are some people that say buy a house or build a house, and then there's an empty lot next to them. They'll buy that lot so they've got extra land, or they don't want somebody moving next to them, or for both purposes. With that being said, she said that some of the people that are doing this aren't putting a sidewalk on that property. Now, I looked through some of our code and I couldn't find the exact answer I wanted. I know Mr. Bridge and I talked about it. If you're putting a structure, I think, on that property, you have X amount of time to put a sidewalk. But does that mean a house only, or would that mean, anything, a fence, a tool shed, whatever it may be? Or if they buy it, no matter what, do they have to put a sidewalk on it? Because basically the issue is she has young kids, and when she walks on the sidewalk, they're getting all these gaps and mud and things like that. So I wanted to just kind of toss that out to Mr. Bridge or Mr. Hutchinson, actually, I guess, is who would be the one to talk to about that, and what's your thoughts and opinions on it.
So I know we talked about it. I'll be honest with you, Mr. Mayor, I'm still researching some things.
Yeah.
It is, here's the thing. It's in our code that once you develop the property, that you have to put the sidewalk in. Okay. So one of the things I'm looking at is still need to research the Twin Creeks covenants, because they may have a maximum lot size. Okay. It says that it's an RPUD. So RPUDs are bigger houses, small yard.
Right.
So the fact that some of these people are even buying the vacant property next to them to make their yard bigger may be in violation of the whole Twin Creeks Homeowners Association. Point one. Point two is that depends on if they actually combine the lot or not. So if let's say I live at Twin Creeks and there's a lot next to me, it's vacant. I want to buy it. I buy the vacant lot. I can't do anything with it. I can't put my shed on there because doesn't have a principal use on it, which would be my main home. So I can leave it vacant. So does that trigger still that sidewalk happen to be placed on a vacant lot? If they don't combine them, and this is some of the things I still got to work out, I still need to talk to Jake about a few things. If they don't combine them, that's a vacant lot. So currently there's our code state, they would not have to improve it. So it's something that I'm going to need a few more days on, to be honest with you. So I'm going to compile some information. I'll email it out to council. But it's not as black and white as I thought it was going to be. I know Mr. Kiko may have some experience on this. But like I said, if they were to get that and build a house on it, yes, within 6 months, they have to have a sidewalk there. But like I said, if they don't combine the lots, it's a vacant lot with no improvement on it. Legally, could they not put a sidewalk? And those are the hard questions that's going to take a couple of days to answer.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Hutchinson, I'll go to you. I saw your hand, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So Randy's correct there as far as, just because they buy the lot, because I've had those calls. I've received those calls myself, someone wanting to buy the lot next to them so they could put the shed or their playground equipment or something, which can't happen. I mean, they can't even put a fence there.
Really?
Yeah. So it is. Now, this is something that I've been through in other communities, the same deal, a vacant lot and no sidewalk. I mean, we have other communities has developments like this that are, there's a development that is 99% built out except for one vacant lot. It's the only lot that doesn't have a sidewalk. Some communities do put in, when they approve these plats, they do put deadlines on there that a lot after some point does have to be, the right of way has to be configured. Now, if it's in their covenants, obviously that's going to be on to the homeowners association to enforce that. But as far as our city code, at least the research that I've done, the way our code reads, it defines is once the lot is begun developing, then that kind of starts the clock. So if someone just purchasing it, and it's saying it not being for sale, it's going to be it'll be a tough one.
Okay. Now, what about and I guess you can't really put a stop to somebody if they want to, obviously, like, where I live, it was designed to have house, not these, gaps where like they're out there. They're, that initially was designed to have houses next to houses, not gaps in yards. And I don't think legally you can stop anybody from doing that. But has that ever been, in your experience, has that ever been a problem where a developed area where they're trying to make their yard bigger and that wasn't the plan, I guess, if you will?
Yeah, so you have, PUDs are a little bit different because those are designed specifically for that plat, how that plat's developed. Some communities in their PUDs, they put those restrictions in there in the PUD as far as lot width, restrictions, lot coverage. And so the only way around that, a homeowner would have to go for a variance, just like they would for anything else. They would have to go for a variance if they combine that lot to have a wider lot than what's permitted. So just because a code may say that, there still are ways that it would be possible for a homeowner to do it, but it would be up to a BZA planning board, ultimately council, to permit that. But as far as ours is a little black and white as far when it comes to that, and it would be. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it would be tough to enforce as is.
Okay.
As long as there's no development on there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Bridge.
And some of the things, like when we talked about this a couple of weeks ago too, I said, council can always look at that policy change.
Right.
But how it would do, it wouldn't catch the people who are currently doing it because they'd be grandfathered in, but it would definitely catch anyone moving past that. Maybe that policy can look like, if you own two parcels adjacent to one another, owned by the same person, we consider that. We'll have to get Jake involved with the legality of it.
Yeah.
Just along the lines of that. Be a little creative about it, but
yeah, I mean, Twin Creeks has had its just had its share of kind of bumps, along the way with, how it started off, unfortunately, like I said, with the developer who passed away. So it's kind of had a rocky going. It'd be nice if we could get it smoothed out, you know what I mean? So I just had that question on that.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I mean, everyone, the developer died, that was years ago. Really, it comes down to them enforcing their covenants.
Right. No,
the homeowners association has to do a better job at enforcing the covenants. Yeah. We're not responsible to enforce those covenants. They are, so.
I mean, there should be something in there for a continuous sidewalk. Once X amount of lots are developed into a community, most of these HOAs and stuff have in there that they have to have a continuous sidewalk, whether they got vacant lots or not. Once they reach a certain percentage of lots developed, then the sidewalk has to be a continuous sidewalk.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Dan. Mr. Hutchinson.
And we'll look, like I said, about that thick. And I looked at them quite a few times because remember they were trying to disband the homeowner association completely.
Yeah.
He was involved in that. I looked at them pretty heavy. I'm going to revisit them because they are large. But my first initial thing was 6 months improvement. But I need to figure out if that's all based our design standards or the homeowners association. And if it's our design standards, what exactly does the homeowners association say? But if the homeowners association dictates it and we don't, they need to enforce that. If that makes sense. Yeah,
no, perfect sense. Thank you. Good. Mr. Hutchinson, did you have anything else, sir?
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. And this isn't, we're definitely not unique to this. This is countrywide. When the housing crash there in the 2000s, it really took a hit on a lot. There was developments, very large developments in every city across the country that was in this situation where it stopped halfway through a development. Either the development, the homeowners association went away, or they just stopped. Then once work started to commence, long after that, the covenants is dead and gone. Homeowners association doesn't exist, and now people are building whatever they want. And that's not uncommon. There's developments even in our Fairborn close neighboring communities that have these big developments that all these houses do look uniform, and then you have these little oddball newer homes stuck in the middle that don't go with that. But You know, that's unfortunate with homeowner associations. And I understand out there in Twin Creeks too, it's kind of gone that way where there are part people that pay and there are people that don't participate.
Right.
So they definitely have they have their hands full over there.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Derek. Ms. Nokowski.
I just have a question. Since it's two separate lots, do they have to, aren't there some codes in town that are related to a property line?
Oh, yeah, but
Do they have to abide by that?
I don't understand your question.
Well, they can't build on that lot.
What's
You
that?
can't put any permanent structure on there.
Yeah, they can't put any structures other than a principal structure first.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, so say if they put a shed up, they couldn't cross that line even though they own that property.
They couldn't
Part
even.
of that accessory structure cannot be on that other property.
Yeah, that property would
Like
have to
even
be.
fence, they can't extend the fence out a foot or whatever.
Because the house has to be on.
Yep.
All right. All right, that's all I had. Anything else under other business before we move this party forward?
Vice Mayor's got something.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Vice Mayor, I didn't see you. Go ahead, sir.
No problem, but for information only. I had a young lady contact me, I think after she contacted Randy, in regard to an offensive language banner that is on South Church Street.
Mhm.
I did look at that banner, and yes, it's offensive language. I did look up our sign ordinance, and I couldn't find anything against it. So I emailed both Randy and Derek in regards to what I found. And Derek replied to me that there's nothing in our sign language about it, and we are infringing upon First Amendment rights if we attempt to do something. So I would assume if you get that call, you might pass that word on.
All right.
It is
Thank
a
you.
gross flag. It is bad.
It's tacky. It's very, yeah, it speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the one across the street from Jeff's?
Yes.
Yep.
He's had two of them up for a while. This one is just far worse than the other one he had up. Now that'd be like going down the street and telling some person walking through the town with a t-shirt on it with the same word on, you gotta take his t-shirt off.
Yeah. Yep.
It's tough, but it's gross. It is.
But
All right.
I will respond to the lady and let her know what we have discussed and what Derek had forwarded on to me. In fact, there's nothing we can do about it.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor, for the heads up, because I had not heard about that complaint, but definitely warranted for sure. So
It was like
all
a
right.
waterfall Friday. Just
Yeah. Yeah.
came out.
All right. So next, with no other business, we will be going into executive session to discuss the employment of a public employee. Mr. Cobb.
Motion to excuse the mayor from the last work session.
Oh, thank you.
Didn't we already do that?
No.
He did it from the work session.
I thought we did it.
We excused you at the end of the work session that you were absent from.
That's right. That's
Yep, we
right.
did it already.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Well, thank you anyway. So, all right. With that being said, we need a motion to move into an
Motion
executive.
to adjourn, go to executive session.
Break, please.
Yeah, we're gonna do 5
Yes.
minutes. We'll do the vote and then we'll take 5 minutes if that's okay.
Second.
Councilman Rodold,
Yes.
Councilwoman Noakowski,
Yes.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilwoman Eggleston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cook,
Yes.
Mayor Lowry,
Yes.
Councilman Grimm.
Yes.
Motion to move to executive session passes 7-0.
All right. And Casey, can you remove us from the live feed?
I got that.
All right.
5 minutes
We
body
have
break.
this meeting and we'll start the executive session when fresh. So you guys should already have that invite if you're invited to the executive session.
Yep.
Oh, so it's a separate invite?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you
Okay.
need me there? Do you need me there?
No, I got you, Bernie. It's late. You gotta
No.
work. Derek and
Ah.
Howie, thanks for coming. I appreciate you guys. See you tomorrow morning.
See you